Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. Looking forward to this beautiful day that we have before us, and just praying that you are doing well, your family's doing well, and all that is going on in your life. And praying for God's blessings upon you, and strengthening you, and encouraging you. And I just wanted to share something with you today that kind of a focus I've been talking about. And even more, I've been doing a word study and just really kind of trying to grasp and understand, these ancient words and these ancient writings that we study and we read in the Bible. And sometimes, as we all know, culturally things change, words change over time, and we're translating something from an ancient language into an English language, and even in our own English language. Even English-speaking people all around the world, we use different phrases, we use different words, and we use different understandings of what those words are. So it's really important for us to stop and go, okay, it's not just English words. And I think that's why sometimes we misinterpret what Scripture's saying, or we miss the nuance of what the writers were conveying. And one of these moments is when John writes his letter in the Gospel of John, and he writes in the first chapter, he does this whole play and parallel off in the beginning, off of Genesis. And he's referencing in talking about the Word, he's talking about God coming in flesh. And it's that word that was spoken in the beginning when it spoke everything into existence. It's really just awesome and fascinating display of uniqueness that he's sharing. But he gets to verse 14 and he says, "And the Word came and dwelt among us." And that word dwelt means, in the Greek understanding, if you just went and looked it up in a dictionary, it would mean to tent, to live in a tent. And of course, he wasn't saying that God came and lived in a tent among us. And he wasn't saying that God was a tent. But to understand it, you go back and you look at, in the Old Testament, what did that actually mean? When God would come and dwell or be in a tent. And so we think back to the tent and the tabernacle that God had and directed Moses to build in the wilderness. And what John's saying is that God came and tabernacled with us. He came and sat down in the presence of his people. And, we use these phrases in our English and probably all cultures about going to church. And you guys have heard me share, and I've talked for years, that there is no such thing as going to church. I know and I understand what we're saying in that, but that's not what God was trying to communicate to us. He wasn't about going to church, even though in those moments that was how God operated. You came to the tabernacle. The high priest went into the tabernacle, or the temple in Jesus' day, for God's presence to come and tabernacle, tent with them, and be with them. And John is specifically writing and saying, here's what's actually happening now, is that God is tenting with us, tabernacling with us. No longer is it in that tabernacle or that temple that we've built, the portable tabernacle that they traveled with in the wilderness, and now the physical temple that they've built in Jerusalem. No longer is that the case. And that's why the temple was eventually in 70 AD demolished and has never been built back. And people keep talking about, well, we're going to build it back. And God moved from that physical temple to you and I. And he came and he dwelt in these temples, temples of flesh. temples that he designed. You know, I shared recently about being statues, being idols. The reason why God said not to make idols in the Old Testament was because we are the idols. We are his images that he once lived out among people. We are his tabernacle that he desires to reside in and to be in and to live in. We don't go to tabernacles. We man-make buildings and we man-make temples and church buildings, but that's not God's design. God's design is to be in you and in me. And wherever you are today watching this video, for one, 2 or 3 of us are gathered in this video, which means God's in it. We don't have to physically, which is so awesome in this day and time, even be in the same place. We're tabernacling with God. His presence is in the midst of this. But wherever you are in your situation right now in life, whatever you're going through, whatever you're facing, whatever circumstances are happening right now, I pray you sense God's presence in you. And just saying, God, make yourself real to me right now. In this moment, in this tabernacle, take up residence, tent with me, and be here with me, and comfort me and strengthen me in my spirit and in my heart. So you have strength to live for today and to serve and honor him and idol him in the world. So I encourage you. I bless you today. I love you. I bless you with health and healing and wisdom and knowledge and power and prosperity and the gifts and the fruits of the Spirit of God to be evident and flowing in your lives. Have a great day and a great week.